Miss a morning, miss a lot.
Unions say it is a direct attack, one that unfairly gives employers an advantage. Manitoba's Labour Minister says it will make unions more accountable and ultimately ensure their survival. It's Bill 26, and within days it will be law in this province. Some of its more controversial elements: after a strike or lockout begins, the Labour Minister can order a vote on the employer's most recent offer, regardless of the current state of negotiations. Unions must disclose salaries and benefits paid to officers earning more than $50,000 a year. And unions will have to consult with their members if dues are used to support a political party, an individual candidate, or to pay for political advertising during an election. That section of the bill is in direct response to the increasing use of political advertising by unions, not only here in Manitoba, but across the country. 24 Hours teamed up with the current affairs program Undercurrents. To look at this issue, here's Todd Southgate.
Let's go again.
So go through the whole thing?
Okay, Judy, this is 20.
I was always proud to live in Ontario and here in Metro.
There are actors
25. 25 again.
Okay, playback. This might be it.
and producers.
I was always proud to live in Ontario and here in Metro.
It's a radio commercial. But it isn't selling soap.
I want the government to take care of everyone in my community.
It's pitching politics. Union politics.
Let's show this provincial government that they don't speak for this community.
A message from Metro Days of Action campaign.
The campaign is spending approximately $70,000 in 2 weeks on radio advertising.
Mike Foster runs Union Communications. It deals exclusively with unions, and it's big business.
We're running commercials on every commercial radio station in Toronto. I think this is unprecedented.
And union ads aren't limited to Ontario.
The Manitoba government has cut tens of millions of dollars from public schools in the last 3 years.
You have the right to know about workplace hazards and to refuse unsafe work.
In a fast-paced world of tough global competition, BC needs a competitive edge.
Let's make health care for people, not profit.
Sell out what's ours. We can't let them do this.
Some don't come cheap. This ad campaign cost over $7 million.
The Power Workers Union says, stop the Ontario hydro sellout.
$7 million is an awful lot of money. Did you need to spend that type of money?
Absolutely. It was the bare minimum that we could spend to run an effective campaign.
Some want to sell out Ontario hydro. Don't let them.
This is the most expensive ad campaign ever waged by a Canadian union. And to pay for it, and the TV airtime, Power Workers President John Murphy got his members to agree to a $5 a week dues hike.
Really, the most effective way of influencing politicians is influencing public opinion. And public opinion is the only way to influence that effectively is through mass media and through effective advertising campaigns.
This graph shows the number of people who today are opposed to privatization of Ontario Hydro.
Jane Armstrong is vice president of the polling firm Environics.
I can tell you that's a significant change. You know, to go from 25% strongly opposed to 54% strongly opposed back in April 1996 is a big number.
So it looks like it was effective, but was it easy?
Unions have very low credibility with the public.
Now, is this an opinion, or is this something you found through your research?
No, through our research we've been finding for some time that unions rank very low in terms of public credibility. So unions have a tough battle to wage in terms of mounting advertising campaigns on issues like this.
Nevertheless, on October 14th, the Ontario Tory government delayed any decision on privatization. Union media advertising is now a multi-million-dollar endeavor, which has exploded right across Canada. And as the fight for public opinion intensifies, these type of electronic campaigns are proving to be highly effective. But here in Manitoba, government has already taken its first steps in trying to restrict these type of union ads. It's called Bill 26, and it's likely to become law next week. It says, in part, that during an election, provincial, federal, or municipal, unions have to ask each and every member if they want their dues used for political purposes, including advertising. Labour Minister Vic Taves introduced the legislation.
I see this as an issue of moving back to the traditional role that unions played, that is, representing employees That's the role of the union. The union is not there to simply have employees as a cash cow.
That's just bull, says union leader Rob Hilliard.
We firmly believe that this is really the Premier's agenda. It's something that he wants to punish unions for daring to defy his agenda in the last provincial election.
In 1992, Health Minister Don Orchard unveiled the government's plan for the future.
During by-elections in 1993, Manitoba unions waged an extensive ad campaign against the Tory government.
Those programs weren't put in place as they were promised.
A worker might say, this is not just an administrative matter, this is you're taking my money that I've earned. Don't I have any say in how that is spent?
Well, I don't like where all my tax dollars are going either. Should I be allowed to withhold my tax dollars on decisions that this government makes that I don't approve of?
The legislation doesn't say you can't advertise. It just says you have to consult with your membership and ask them if they want their money to go to these type of advertising endeavors.
How can we go about the business of communicating with everybody, allowing them the option to have their dues taken out, us taking a look at what we have left, still devising a campaign before the election period is over?
I think it's designed, frankly, to be a damn nuisance.
Labor lawyer Rob Tunn.
The fundamental point is this. If in a free society we say that we are going to separate one particular group out, in this case, which they perceive to be a group on the left that represents employed persons, and say we are going to have more restrictive rules on them than we are on anyone else, that's wrong.
So how are Manitoba unions fighting the draft legislation?
The first week we buy a lot of prime time.
With an ad campaign. How else?
This campaign, in television alone, will reach in excess of 90% of Manitobans about 12 times.
Ron Pradnick is an ad man trying to win a contract.
You're getting reaching a lot of people. Roseanne may have a reach of 15, so you buy that show.
Looks like he's got it.
All in favor, please indicate. Motion's carried.
Back in Toronto, as the unions spread their message using billboards and radio ads, another campaign has appeared attacking the unions. Surprisingly, as both groups spend thousands promoting opposing political views, they do share some common ground. You know, we would fight for their right to say what they want to say. I mean, to say that only certain people can advertise at a given time is very frightening, and you get very close to something that's not a democratic society, and I don't think anybody wants that. John Murphy acknowledges that if the Manitoba legislation was law here, this might not have happened.
Stop the Ontario hydro sellout.
I think it would be difficult, especially in the case of hydro privatization, when things can happen very quickly, legislation can be introduced very, very rapidly. Unions have to be in a position of being able to respond quickly.
Some may argue that the union shouldn't be in the advertising game. Your role is as a collective bargaining unit, and your role is to protect the worker.
So unions have to grow up and grow out of the basic concepts, the traditional ones of in the past, in the good old days, when all you had to worry about was a collective agreement. You now have to worry about much, much broader issues, because it's those broader issues that ultimately can have huge impacts on your membership.
For decades, most of Manitoba's labor agreements have been settled without strikes.
Remember Ron?
Frank, you're starting to pick up the tempo on it. Let's do another take.
For decades, most of Manitoba's labor agreements have been settled without strikes.
His ad is now running in Manitoba.
But now, with Bill 26, the government would upset that balance.
Bill 26 looks like it's destined to become law, but the unions say that they'll find a way around it. Stay tuned to a TV near you.
For a Manitoba that works.
Let's take her.